All right. It's really fast. Yeah. All right. Welcome everyone to today's local school council regular meeting. Before I get started, thanks Bridget for making copies of the agenda over there. We also have sign-up sheets for folks who would like to participate during public participation. Before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and go over our norms. Be an active, engaged, contributing participant by sharing your perspective and actively listening to others. Be flexible and respectful of others' time and decisions. Be open to other people's truths and perspectives. Be reminded of differences in cultural and social backgrounds. Be transparent about concerns, challenges, and misunderstandings. Be reflective, collaborative, and supportive. Always take the work back to student achievement. What can we do to make things better for our students, both academically and social emotionally? Respect student, staff, and LSC member confidentiality. Unless there's a threat to safety, meetings should be paused if LSC members or meeting participants experience harm due to their identity, including but not limited to gender, sexual orientation, race, etc. The harm should be named. Understand that not everything has a right now solution and trust that the process is ongoing. With that, I'd like to do a quick roll call. Matthew Kwame, parent rep.
Which way you want to go around?
You go.
I'll go. Eric Oakson, parent rep.
Nicole Granicki, parent rep.
Stephanie Esposito, community rep. Richard Fabianski, teacher rep. Amy Gagnon, teacher rep.
Oliver Dennis, parent rep.
Please have the principal. 8 members present.
And Rocky's not gonna make it today. She's out sick. Cece and Megan are coming from Sen, a basketball game at Sen that should be in a minute or anytime now. So with that, the next order item here is approval of the order of the agenda. I'd like to make perhaps one modification because we want CC's report. So if it's okay, we can swap Luis's report with CC's. So I'd like to make a motion to move the principal report to be item 4, and items 4 and 5, and then the student representative report will be item number 6. 1 second. Discussion, all in favor? All right, great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is items needing council approval. The first one are ongoing. Note there to allow LSC members to join the meeting remotely. Nobody has come through and requested that, so we can skip this one. The other two have to do with regular minutes or minutes from the previous 2 regular meetings. I don't think I saw the January 14th one. So maybe we can move that for next meeting.
I wrote them.
For last week? No, last meeting, no.
Yeah,
There was
previous meeting.
December 10th.
December 10th was, I remember.
Yeah.
The minutes. All right, but no, it hasn't been even if they're written, they haven't been disseminated.
Correct. So we can move that to the next meeting. And, all right.
Come on.
So those two, we can vote them on them next time. All right, so we want good times. Okay, a couple of leasing agreements. Number 1, temporary leasing agreement for Camp Invention Program from June 22nd to the 26th. Sponsored by Mr. Evan Trad, our climate and culture coordinator. I'd like to make a motion to approve. So Camp Invention is a week-long program that is run, that go through a lot of activities, science and other, but a lot of fun
activities too.
a lot of my daughter attended that last year. She had a great time. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for Camp Invention to be held June 22nd to 26th, sponsored by Mr. Evantrad.
I'll second. It's a good one. I've done it before too.
Any discussion? Right. All in favor? Excellent, thank you. The motion passes. Next item, a temporary leasing agreement for the Girl Scout Service unit meeting scheduled to take place on March 14th. It is sponsored by the Peirce, the Peirce Girl Scout troops. There are several of them, but they all roll up under the Service Unit 297. Is it World
Thinking Day.
World Thinking
So it's
Day?
an event.
Got it.
That was my question. It's an event that's different from the regular meetings.
So, okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for the Girl Scout Service Unit event on March 14, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Very good, thank you. Next, 3 items actually, all sponsored by Friends of Peirce. That's a Culver's give back. The next one is Jenny's Ice Cream give back, and the other one is a Climb Zone give back. So essentially, these events are where Peirce parents or anyone participating or frequenting these businesses can mention Peirce, and Peirce in return will get some sponsorship for that, or some proceeds. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Culver's Give Back, sponsored by Friends of Peirce.
Nicole's got it.
Okay. Discussion, all in favor? Very good, thank you. Next one, I'd like to make a motion to approve Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams Give Back, again sponsored by Friends of Peirce.
Second.
Really ice cream. All in favor? Very good, thank you. Motion passes. The last one, Climb Zone Give Back, sponsored by Friends of Peirce. I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Very good, thank you. Next, so next is public participation, so folks can, we do have a sign-up sheet there, and if folks would like to go ahead and, do we have anybody that signed up just yet?
No,
Yeah.
I signed my name, and I thought it was just like, you guys were.
My bad. Now you gotta say something.
You just say hi.
There was an email string. I thought some people were going to come and ask questions about the CWIP.
CWP, no, I didn't see that, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
I was on an email. There's a long string and I kind of skimmed it, but the part I said is, I'm going to come to the meeting and ask about this.
Well,
But
there's 2 people on
Yeah,
there.
we have another person on here. Roberta.
It is. Go ahead.
So good evening,
Hello.
Principal Avila, LSC members. It's great to see you in 2026. I was curious to know if Principal Avila or the LSC was going to post the candidate statements on the school's website. In the past, schools, and I know that some schools have taken that approach to post all the candidate statements on the school website and dedicated a page for LSC elections, for the upcoming LSC elections. I think it would be a great idea to post all the candidate statements on the school website, so the community, the Peirce community, has an opportunity to read those statements, and the Edgewater Andersonville at large also has an opportunity to review that. I know that they're posted in front of the office, but I think it would also be helpful to post it on the school's website.
Okay.
And I believe the 2026 LSC guidelines does give the principal that discretion to post it, and then they have to be taken down at a certain date, right closer to the election date. Thank you.
Thank you.
go to the principal's report.
Yep.
All
right. Good evening, everyone. Everyone's having a wonderful night. Promise I won't talk too much. Just want to give you guys some updates on Peirce happening. So LSC election forums coming up, save the date, Thursday, February 26th from 5:30 to 7:30. Shared also that agenda already in the bulletin for the newsletter for parents as well. I want to give a shout out to our counselors. Last week was National School Counseling Week from February 2nd to the 6th. So I want to give a big shout out to Miss Adu and to Miss Harris and our wonderful school counselors for all the wonderful work they do for our school. The 5 Essential Survey has just opened for staff and students this week. So that is available for them. The parent survey will be available, I believe it's tentatively scheduled for the March month. So more information will be shared through the parent newsletter and communicated to parents when that becomes available. And that'll also be active on the CPS website as well. I did also want to shout out our wonderful MYP AP, Mr. Lee. He recently presented at the school leader DPQ meeting on affinity groups and the importance of affinity groups. So we really focus on understanding the mission, purpose, and core values behind affinity spaces, and shared with prospective school leaders how they can implement those affinity groups within their respective school buildings. So great job, Mr. Lee. Shout out to him. Parent and community updates. We are extending the parent student school experience survey. We want to make sure we mitigate as much information as possible from all stakeholders. So we're extending that until next week. One of our CAWP members, which is a parent, actually suggested sharing it to the parent reps of each classroom as a way to mitigate that information or stream that information to get a greater response rate. So we extended it to next week on Wednesday for that survey to be completed. Forum 2, we're just posted there for parents, it's upcoming. That meeting is tomorrow, Thursday, February 12th. That was originally scheduled back in January, but due to the school closure, it's been postponed to tomorrow. The focus of the workshop tomorrow will be parental stress and well-being, providing valuable strategies and support for families. And this is also a wonderful opportunity to meet and greet and get to know the candidates for the Peirce Local School Council during the meeting as well. Our equity forum, very excited about that as well. That is coming up on Thursday, February 19th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. Some of the updates that we made were included a QR code so we can get an accurate number of participants coming, because as a committee, we want to make sure too that we give the full general experience. So we want to make sure that we set up spaces, because this is not just going to be it's not going to be an informational session. Parents are going to be actively participating during this forum. So I really encourage parents to please come and participate. It's going to be a great experience with really the focal point on restorative practices and how parents can engage in them as well. We had scheduled our special education information session number 2. There was one held at the beginning of the school year. Again, this is like a refresher of how SPED works and the process of how it works. I did include the presentation there for everyone, and also shared it in the parent newsletter as well, just with the most up-to-date, data for SPED, as well as other pertinent information, should any parents have any information about the special education program. On Friday, February 6th, we held our Love and Friendship Dance, our Baile de Amor y Amistad, presented in partnership with PSO and BAC. That took place last week. I want to give them a huge shout out, and to all the volunteers that were our participants. It was a wonderful night, and we look forward to those events in the future as well. Student recognition, CPS score updates. I'm happy to report our girls basketball team won today's playoff game, 19-4. So go Panthers! I'm sure CC and Ms. Tolpa will show that enthusiasm when we get here. And cheering on our boys. Their game's at 5:30 versus Kilmer. So we're cheering them on in spirit. It's happening right now. Our 5th and 8th grade cheer team has their first competition this Saturday at the UIC Forum. Again, the site essentials is open to students this week, so we're gonna mitigate time and communicate with teachers to allow for students to be able to capture that, complete the 5 essentials. And that is for grades 4 through 8th grade. We also have our career day upcoming on March 6, 2026. We're looking for passionate professionals excited to share their career journey with our 6th and 8th grade students. Ms. Adu has started organizing the career day, and if you have any questions regarding the career day or like to be a participant, please reach out to Ms. Adu, our MYP school counselor.
She's been on top of it.
Yes. And I even recruited, oh my goodness, his name is slipping from my head and I feel so bad right now. The owner of Hot Leaf. He will be coming out to Michael. He actually, when I met last week with him, he said, I mentioned career, he's like, he had been participating in career day previously. I'm like, oh, career day's coming up, so if you'd like to come, it's happening March 6th. Hey, Mr.
Whoa!
Go Panthers! I know. I got the text. Just announced it like 2 minutes ago. Today we actually held our Student of the Month, recognizing our students' achievements for the month of January. Students who showed kindness, worked hard, and made positive choices, and represents what it means to be a Peirce Panther. So hats off to our students of the month for the month of January. High school admission offers come out this Friday, February 13th at 5 p.m. Wishing all our 8th graders the best. That, it goes well. On February 18th, the principal discretion window opens. What that is, for students who applied for selective enrollment high schools, didn't receive their top choice, they would need to write an essay for why they would be a good fit, as well as get a letter of recommendation from the principal. So detailed instructions and eligibility will be available on the OCPS website. Ms. Adu is the one in charge of also overseeing that as well. And our LSC student elections, our forum right now is tentatively scheduled. And our wonderful LSC student ambassador, yay!
Right on time.
Right on time. We just announced you guys won. Great job. Our wonderful LSC student rep will be making an announcement next week. One of the things with Cece, she's an LSC student ambassador as part of the initiative of the district. So one of the initiatives is to make 2 public service announcements regarding the upcoming elections. So the second announcement will take place next week. The first one took place on January 14th. Heading into the domain, the first one, domain 1. So from our professional learning, we are continuing to coincide with our professional learning with our CIWP priorities, while being forward thinking about the upcoming CIWP writing cycle and best instructional practices. Speaking of the CIWP, we have some updates on that. We began our CIWP process on January 26th after a 2-week delay, as the district asked us to delay the start of it as the platform is being updated with the most recent language and rating systems to ensure that we captured everything with fidelity. So right now we're in phase 1, which is to complete the reflections and select the priorities for our next CIWP. The deadline for that is February 20th. We have a meeting upcoming tomorrow and have scheduled times as well as next week. So the objective of the foundational sessions is the facilitator will share the evidence for each foundation in order for the team to determine the performance of each foundation. The team will help determine the 2 foundations to prioritize for next year. So one example I can give, like effective instruction, for example, we look at different types of data, like whether it's 5 essentials, or we look at grade data, we look at on-track data, we look at different types of data, and we look at the reflections of the piece, and basically kind of like almost like a rating system, like, is the school doing this? Like yes, no, or not applicable, because there are some items that don't apply to elementary school. They would only apply to high school. So based on the data that we have in front of us and we're reviewing, and that's why we're adamant about collecting more data, parent-facing data, student-facing data, so we really have a clear picture and ensure that we're rating these in the most appropriate manner. We're trying to collect as much more data before we finalize that. We have till February 20th to do that. So right now, we've already pre-rated all of them, but we're gonna continue going back and reflecting on them and making sure, like, based on the additional data that we received, that the ratings are appropriate, which will lead us then to selecting the priorities. And here are just the tentative meeting dates that we have set. Those dates are subject to change, obviously, depending on our progress in each section. We might decrease the amount of meetings or increase the amount of meetings based on how much face time that we need to meet in order to meet the district deadlines. So you can see, for example, the reflections are due to February 20th, the root cause analysis, student-centered problem theory of action. That's when we really dig deep into the priority areas that we select and identify, since we selected this priority, what are we seeing? And obviously it's a student-centered problem that we're trying to identify and create a theory of action on that. And then phase 3 would be the goals and the implementation. What goals are we gonna set? How are we gonna measure those goals and ensure that they're being implemented with fidelity? The deadline for the district is April 24th for the goals and implementation. We have it set right now for April 1st and 2nd, so we built in some wiggle room in there in the event that we need to add additional meetings. The CIWP composition you'll see is composed of myself, Mr. Avila, our 2 APs, Mr. Lee and Ms. Bakulis, our IB coordinator, Ms. Lebowitz, our ELPT, Mr. Werner, our case manager, Ms. Cohen-Torres, our culture and climate coordinator, Mr. Trad, our LSC student rep, CC Crosby, Ms. Chalico, our PYP teacher representative, Ms. Harvey, our MYP teacher representative. In preparing community, we have Ms. Galdati and Mr. Hannon. So we wanted to ensure we've got a little bit of representation for each, like from the EL standpoint, from the STED standpoint, the teacher standpoint. We had one from PYP, we had one from MIP to ensure equal voice. Instructional team update. Our ILT team continues to meet regularly to progress monitor our current CIWP goals and priorities. Again, our grade level meetings are built around those CIWP priorities. We want to make sure in the current CIWP that we're in, that we finish strong and are able to meet those goals as set 3 years ago. IB updates. I have launched the Exhibition 2026, which is a culminating learning experience that highlights the impact of student work. Through inquiry-based learning, students explore those real-world issues. I happen to be one of the mentors too for one of the groups. I'm taking on educational infrastructure, something close to home for me, and want to make sure that I'm helping our fellow students that are working on those exhibition projects, to really build that up. And I'm really excited about that. BHT counseling updates. So BHT continues to meet regularly to assess the referral of students and any supports that they need to, alleviate. Ms. Hannah Harrison, our PYP counselor, is continuing to support Tier 3 work, so one-on-one check-ins as needed for students that need it. Regular Tier 1 work, SEL lessons, so that's those whole class approaches. She also is conducting a new round of groups, a kindergarten classroom survival skills group, a second grade emotional problem solving skills group, and a kindergarten emotional skills and being a good friend group. On the MYP side, Ms. Adu has a weekly lunch bunch for each grade. CBITS and Rainbow groups have started. So the CBITS is a cognitive behavior intervention for trauma in schools, which is evidence-based school intervention designed for students aged from 10 to 18 who experience trauma, such as violence, accidents, or disasters. MTSS team updates. So our MOY testing has concluded, and the following are the tier reports, which are actually here in the packets. You'll see the movement report. You'll see one for reading and one for mathematics. So you'll see the difference, and you'll see it dated at the beginning of the year. October 4th is when the report was calculated for BOY. So that was after the BOY window, which took place in September. So at that time, we had 801 students at Tier 1, 81 students at Tier 2, and 61 students at Tier 3. Now, looking at it months later, at the MOI at the end of the benchmark, so right now we have 815 students at tier 1, 90 students at tier 2, and 44 students at tier 3. So we're seeing movement upward. And on the next page, you'll see the movement. So like students that went up, 33 students went up, 849 students were neutral, 60 students went down. Although they went down, they might have still stayed within the same tier, just that they scored lower and possibly in this assessment. Students that transferred in, there were a total of 6 students that transferred in, and there were none that transferred out. For mathematics, we had 789 students at tier 1, tier 2, 94 students, and tier 3, 55. Just as a reminder, tier 1 is that whole lens. That's where everyone starts at tier 1. Tier 2 is like, that small group intervention, with tier 3 being that one-to-one intervention. In the progress that was made, we went from 789 at the beginning of the year to 810 students at tier 1, 85 students at tier 2, and 53 students at tier 3, with 42 going up, 834 remaining neutral, and 64 down, and 10 transferred in. Structured recess. So I wanted to give you some context on that as well. For our previous meeting, I think we had a debate about what that's going to look like in my inquiry into PlayWorks. Some of the proposals they gave me, were a bit pricey, especially for the remainder of the school year. In what was discussed, like it did not make a lot of sense to make such a huge financial investment. So I went back and had another meeting with PlayWorks. And some of the things that they proposed were like, you could pick one of the trainings that we have available for the school instead of doing the full implementation. So the proposal they gave was, we can do a group management PD for your current system, how it is right now. We can do a demo in early March, a free demo for recess. And then we can look at the implementation for SY 26 and 27. So as you see here, that full implementation, it includes all of that, including what I'm going to be proposing, because what I'm going to be proposing is group management PD, which I tentatively scheduled, but obviously pending LSC approval, because we will need to transfer funds to be able to fund that. I'll discuss that when we get to the budget transfers. So in your packet, you'll see, I think that's more towards, let me see. Yes, it'll be $1. You'll see the description of what that encumbers. And I think, just based on the listening tours that I conducted and everything, I think this is like something, a training that would benefit a lot of the recess coaches to really ensure, proactive strategies, support safe and healthy play, and ensure that daily routines are being followed with fidelity. So you'll see the description of the program and also the contract that they shared out. So what it would encumber, it would be a 3-hour professional development. So I set it up for a non-teaching day. So that way they're not taken away from their duties. So it would be on the staff development day that the training would take place. I was able to secure that date. But again, it will be obviously pending LSC approval. As always, I included all of the information that I had shared in the previous LSC meetings as well. Listening tours, so all that's concluded. I wrote a novel from the staff perspective on community growth and partnership, parent growth and LSC reflections on community partnership and growth, and student reflections on community growth and partnership, that affinity group. It really shed a lot of light on the things that are working at Peirce and things that we need to improve on as a school. Some of the highlights, that were mentioned, that there is a genuine love for students at Peirce. And that to me is close to my heart. We want to make sure that we are student-centered, that we're really zeroing in on our students. And I think that's a testament to our Cultivate scores, where student voice was at an 85, but there are other areas of growth too that we need to address as a school. So, a lot of, from the staff perspective, they value their colleagues a lot. They really take a passion with the IB framework and the inquiry-based learning. Areas of growth include clear systems and constant communication, Again, with one of my staff, I want to develop that communication, ensure that, even if you want to vent, you can come talk to me and everything. I want to be of support to our staff. From parent group analysis reflections, a lot of the stuff that came out was how this is a close, caring, and diverse community. That sense of camaraderie and family, and there's a strong appreciation for the quality of staff as well at Peirce. What's working and should continue also include the SPED services, interventionists and targeted supports, the extracurricular activities, after-school programs, open access to leadership, transparency, and regular communication, a visible, sustained commitment to equity, anti-racism, and inclusion, and opportunities for families to engage in parent groups, school events, and decision-making. So some of the things mirrored also what staff said, that clear communication and follow-through, but they're more targeted, like whether bullying concerns, investigation and safety plans, so anything behavioral, transparency about school-wide initiatives, continued attention to equitable voice, and ongoing work to address biases and support positive interactions. From the student lens, a lot of what I took from the different affinity groups, they included, the staff was supported, that there was representation and diversity, engagement through celebration, and they were very excited about future initiatives. Some of the stuff that these affinity groups did mention was, some concerns about bullying and lack of empathy. They find it as like just some kids just displaying mean behavior, just being like mean. And so we want to make sure that, as a school, we're attentive to that and ensuring that we set those protocols to, combat that. Unsupervised common areas, some boundary crossing and everything. Unstructured play at recess too was a concern that was brought to my attention as well from these affinity groups. And ineffective discipline is something they mentioned. The perception of disciplinary consequences are misaligned. So again, that equity lens, like making sure that students are receiving the consequences equitably. Thank you for that. So in domain 2, the instructional core. So right now, our grade level meetings since our last LSC meetings, again, they're focusing on learning and planning continued from the CIWP lens. So we're really focusing in on the priority standards by grade level to ensure that, how the staff is addressing the priority standards. So we want to consider that within the units and the daily routines taking place. So, the students will be able to, that's the focal lens right now. How is that happening? Are they monitoring that with fidelity? We also engaged in MOI data review. So as testing was concluding, teachers looked at their data and that also helped to really zero in on the work happening in ILT. And we also had our tabletop allergen drill in one of our past GLT meetings. Quarter 3 grades went home. The progress reports went home on Friday, February 6th. As mentioned in the January 14th meeting, we had our rigor walk. I have that data for you right here. So again, right here, as you'll see in this packet, the colorful packet, right here it shows the BOI rigor walk that took place before my tenure here and the MOI rigor walk. Again, as mentioned, these are non-evaluative walks to take a snapshot of what's happening in the classroom. Just because we didn't see something happening or, it was saying, it wasn't evident, doesn't mean it's like, oh, it's not because it's not happening. It just happened not to happen during that 10-minute visit. So the way it works is there's a 10-minute visit and the last walk was a focus rigor walk. So we as a school, we got to focus in on our pillar of choice. So we chose pillar number 2. So that really covers that student discourse, the student communication aspect of it. So what you'll see here is the results of the BOI rigor walk, just to explain it a little bit more. And a couple of observations, and again, this is before my time, this is things that were summarized to me. In the first walks that were conducted, learning targets were not as evident in the BOI rigor walk as present in the classroom. Now that can include that it's not visibly written or it's not being discussed. And sometimes when that happens, if there's not a learning target present, so like, for example, if you see on page 1, the taxonomy level and the evidence of student learning, you can't rate that because there is no learning target present. So then you'll see on the second page, organizing students to achieve the standard, that's again, that student discourse piece. So if item number 7, for example, students interact with partners or groups, if it's strongly disagree, the rest of that pillar has to be strongly disagree because there's no partner work happening or interactions happening. So by default, that has to be strongly disagree. If there's some form of it happening, then that pillar can be rated. With pillar 3, monitoring to take action within the lesson, that's that assessment piece. The feedback students are giving to one another, the feedback they're receiving from teachers, and how students are acting on that feedback. So you'll see the differences here with the BOI rigor walk. And some of the takeaways are also mentioned here in the BOI rigor walk. So this is again, I believe it was, and maybe the teachers can refresh my memory on this, were they here September or October?
I mean, it depends, because they don't come into all the classrooms.
Okay, so it had to have taken place right at the beginning of the year, because there's a deadline, like cutoff. And I believe the cutoff was the end of October. Because I participated in my previous school's rigor walk before my tenure here. So some of the celebrations of the BOI rigor walk, monitoring to take action, alignment between the targets and in the lessons, adults in every classroom were engaged with students. There were student interactions and supportive nature and culture were very strong. IB unit work throughout the building. So some growth goals for the BOI included language targets along with learning target and ATL skills in the PYP. So if you look at the rigor walk that I recently participated in with our staff members, you'll see in the next few pages that there were, compared to the first walk, more learning targets evident this time around. Of the 8 classrooms we visited, we had 7 of 8 classrooms with learning targets visible. So that's a growth goal right there, that we hit that goal where we grew. Even though that was not our focus point for this rigor walk, we still did it. That was a recommendation on our network. You should still capture to see if there's a learning target present, even though your focus is pillar 2. So you'll see like 2 different sets of data points because the first page is one group and the second page is another group. So you're not going to see pillar 3 because we did not include that in this walk. It was a focus walk. So pillar 3 was not included in this one. So you'll see that learning targets, there was significant growth there. And in some areas, there was also significant growth in student discourse. So in some classrooms, we saw some student discourse occurring. Again, like if there was like, in some cases where it was strongly disagreed, like that was not happening. Again, it was like more of a whole group approach. Then that's where it's like, we can't rate that. So that's why by default, that's a strongly disagree. And then some of the celebrations that included from that walk. So culture was evident throughout all the classrooms. Teacher engaging students in intentional reflection and what they've learned. Students were focused and engaged, and this is on a Monday morning. Just to state that, on a Monday morning, they were ready to go, the kiddos. The foundations for Pillar 2 are evident that student voice is being celebrated in those learning environments. And there was such a positive energy as well in the classrooms. And the teaching of science of reading in primary was evident as well. Opportunities for growth, encouraging student autonomy and curiosity will lead to student teams and student engagement. So opportunity for student discussion. So again, building up on that student discourse. Really giving students that individual autonomy to engage in student discourse. So for example, like a turn and talk should be more structured, like, more in depth, like not just like, okay, turn and talk to your neighbor and tell them the answer kind of thing. More like really delving in, really like giving each other that feedback and like, can you justify your response as to why you think that? Okay. Last week, we also had our rightful present walkthrough. That took place on February 3rd. We had our special education coordinators out for that. So again, this is non-evaluative, and the lens focus here was on the inclusion settings and the resource settings as well. So this is more from a SPED lens. Non-evaluative, we want to make sure that the elements of effective instruction are occurring for our school, for our students with disabilities and highlight opportunities for further support. So along with us, there are 6 other schools a part of this walk. And here you'll see the checklist, the indicators of effective instruction and rifle presence. This is what was measured. So it's like basically checked off if they see it in the classroom. Again, if they don't see that evidence during the walk, it doesn't mean that it's not occurring. It means that it just wasn't happening at that point in time. I do want to say, let me see what I put back here. I guess on the next page. We did receive feedback, and I would like to read this to the LSC. Thank you so much for a wonderful and enriching hour at your school. It's always a pleasure to see the learning and engagement taking place in the Network 2 special education classrooms. During our visit, we observed a variety of settings across grade levels. Overall, the data from our visit was very positive. A few highlights right off the bat. Kudos to you and your resource teacher who was using a high quality curriculum. This is the first resource room we have visited where high quality curriculum was being implemented. So shout out to Ms. Lopez-Antella. We also saw high levels of student to student discourse. Jen and I, so those are the members, will reflect on the data after completing visits to all our schools participating and use those insights to inform future admin and case manager learning across the network. We truly appreciate the partnerships and collaboration. So shout out to all those. So it was a very positive visit, a lot of good things happening in the classroom. Domain 3, culture and climate. So you'll see the most updated year-to-date behavior incidents here in the next packet. So you'll see the recent ones, and this is year-to-date, obviously. So instructive, corrective, restorative practices, 26 responses, 5 detentions, 4 in-school suspensions. And it includes demographics of all the categories, so based on the number of incidents that have taken place, the consequences that have been dealt out. And then since the last LSC meeting, we've had 1 incident involving a restorative conversation, 1 involving a detention, 3 involving restorative conversations, and 2 with an restorative conversation. So with those categories, depending on the category code, with student code of conduct, like continual instruction, classroom items, or school property. So 3, but that's the same student. 3 restorative conversations have to take place, for example, or 2.4, initiating, pursuing an unacceptable minor physical actions. 2 restorative conversations took place. You'll also see the comparison with the behavior data, like throughout the district, how it is compared to our school, to our network 2, I'm sorry, this is network 2 right here. And then the comparison incidents between last school year to this school year. So at this point, we had 49 incidents through week 20. This year, we have 20 incidents through week 20. Number of investigated alleged bullying in total year to date, number 14. Investigations 14, 1 founded and 13 unfounded. And then this is just a summarization of our SY26 goals, which will be highlighted also in the upcoming equity forum as well, and has also been shared with the parent community. Our student voice committee, I've also included the agendas. We've had 2 productive meetings. I gotta say, I love the enthusiasm of our student voice. As I mentioned, they are composed of members of our affinity groups. So they're very vocal and very adamant about representing our school student voice. Among some of the topics that we're currently discussing is lunchroom seating. You know, some of the concerns that they brought were students are not currently allowed to sit with friends during lunch. Backpacks and personal backpacks, all backpacks, bags, and pouches must be kept throughout the school day in their lockers. We also are going to be reviewing with them the cultivate data in the upcoming February 13th meeting, as well as the student experience survey. So I've already discussed the survey with Cece, but I also want to get input. Want to kind of do like a middle of the year survey with students because the fall cultivate took place in October. So we want to get some more current data because 5 essentials data we're not going to get until later on in the spring, at the end, toward the tail end of the spring. So I'd rather have something more current, just to take the temperature and see, how students are feeling about their student experience at Peirce. So very proud of our student voice committee and kudos to them. Safety drills. We are 100% compliant with our safety drills for SY 25-26. We've completed our allergy, lockdown, and shelter in place, our 3 fire evacuation and bus drills. Having said that, fire drills can still take place, so if CFD visits the school site, those fire drills will still can take place. But in terms of compliance, we are at 100% compliance for our safety drills for the school year. Safety notification. So this happened yesterday on the morning of February 10th around 7:30. We received a report of unidentified individuals that had broken into an unoccupied car in our school's parking lot. CPD and the CPS Office of Safety and Security were notified, and CPD will be investigating the situation further. Nobody was physically harmed. Students and staff were safe. This has happened before school, like an hour before school. Please know that we take these situations very seriously, and I wanted to make sure that I communicate that to the community at large, because I want to make sure that, we're all mindful, vigilant. I do ask, just a safety reminder, this is safety and security. If you see something, please do not intervene or interact with those individuals. Please contact me. If you see something, please contact the school too, as well as CPD as well. Security camera updates. On February 9th, we had the regional technology manager out here completing measurements for security cameras. He did give me an update of the funds that were approved in the last LSC meetings. 8 cameras can be installed. But he also gave me some other good news that they are going to look to see if they can fund the remaining cameras for us. So we would not have to cover the cost, meaning that we can get all the cameras fully funded all this year. So that is wonderful news, and hoping that they say yes. Update on the playground gate. So the gates on Gregory, we're still waiting for those POs to be, there's 2 remaining POs at large that we're waiting. I did inquire about the gates here by the dumpster area and took a picture and sent it to facilities as well. And I actually uploaded the picture in my walk around. I want to make sure, that we're focused on closing that area out, because that walkway is something where parents do walk through, but I want to make sure that the dumpster is closed off to the community passing by, because right now it's open, anyone can go by the dumpster area. So to me, I want to make sure that kids are safe, no one's touching the area, and make sure that that area is closed off. So facilities is looking into that for us. And they will let me know if that's something that can be covered by the district. They are covering the gates that are, the areas right here, that is being covered by the district. So my request to them was to cover the areas also by the dumpster as well. To help mitigate some of the things too, because we've noticed, some people parking also there on that driveway area where the dumpster is. We were able to get some sawhorses, the plastic, actually the ones they use in your office suggested, Nicole. So we got some sawhorses. We want to make sure that, that area is a safe area and that no one's, getting access to those areas. LSC elections are coming up. The letter 2 communication was recently shared by our LSC election coordinator, Sally. And the forum is coming up on Thursday, February 26th from 5:30 to 7:30. In regards to our school attendance, right now our current attendance rate is 93.94%. Our goal is to stay above that 94%. January and February are always a rough time, especially with a lot of sickness going around. So, as a whole, we're doing much better than CPS. CPS is at 89%. So we're doing much, much better. So if you look, I was able to create some graphics right here that show, if you see that dip in, certain areas, especially in the month of January, towards February, it dips a little bit. And I put the comparisons in the last 3 years on the right-hand side of the table. So if you look at our current school year for January 25-26, our attendance overall was 93.16%. But if you compare for the other 3 years, it was actually much lower last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. If we look at February up to date, we're at 93.7%. But compared to other years, we're at higher attendance rate. So our attendance is higher compared to where we were at this point last year. But again, we're mindful of that right now because of the sickness and everything. And you'll see a graphic here of where we're at right now. So last week, our first week, it was a 93.45 attendance rate. And then this week was a 91.72. So we're obviously waiting for the week 10 to get the full data on that. Talent and hiring updates. We've hired 2 teacher assistants currently for kindergarten. Those were the positions that were granted. Ms. Viviana Villagomez was hired as a TA, as well as Ms. Michelle Platts was hired as a TA for our kindergarten classrooms. Principal AP Professional Learning. We, on Monday, recently attended the monthly Network 2 Principals AP meeting on a monthly basis, and that took place this past Monday. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 12th. I recently attended also on January 21st, Budget 102 training. Again, as a school leader, I want to make sure that I'm building my efficacy, my professional development to ensure that I'm leading the school with fidelity, especially in regards to budgeting, ensuring that everything is being done by the book. And I also attended my new Principal Institute on January 27th. We did have a visit from our Human Resources Department, which gave us a lot of tips, for new principals of things that we should know and, pitfalls that we should avoid as well. Reach evaluation updates. So our schedule continues to be updated as needed. We started this year with the PATs and we're focusing on PATs and tenured teachers. Ms. McCool started about a month ago. She's already active and ready to go and already begun observations. I've been in observations as well. So right now we're up to speed and scheduled to finish by the May 15th deadline. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
So on the discipline report here,
yes.
for SY 25 versus SY 26, is there a correlation to why there's a spike every 10 weeks with the kids?
It could be, and this is something that we actually discussed. Contributing factors might be too, also, well, it's been very cold. So we've had more indoor recess, especially in the month of January. And what we noticed, there have been spikes of incidents because of that. So that's why we're really adamant about the more we can get outside, and thankfully weather has been improving. And one thing, I've been mitigating with facilities, making sure that the area is clear to be able to go outside. So that's one of the contributing factors as the spike of behaviors because of indoor recess. There just tends to be a little bit more, in my experience as a administrator, that tends to be the case around this time of the year.
Any other questions?
Yeah, along the same lines, can you give us a little bit more definition of what detention and in-school suspension means?
So detention is usually, whether it's after school or during school detention. So again, it depends on the violation of the student code of conduct. So, and all those are still, with a restorative lens, a reflective restorative lens. The detention is like a period, let's say, like a 45-minute period. In-school suspension, so those are more severe, kind of raises to the level of fighting, for example. So there was any fighting, students may receive a suspension in violation of student code of conduct. That would be depending on the type of infraction, if it was really severe, it might be more days. But we also track students to see, have they had a history too and everything. So usually the rule of thumb, for something like fighting, for example, will be a 1-day in school suspension. But again, with the lens of a reflective and restorative approach.
Okay, because I see so in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension. So what happens to the student if it's under the in-school suspension versus detention?
So they're assigned with a staff member.
Oh, they're assigned with a staff member.
They're assigned for the staff member to be with them throughout the day.
Okay.
Again, it's with that restorative lens and everything. And also any work that, they have to do as well, that's given to them as well. So as so they not fall behind in their studies as well. But there is a focal point too on really reflecting on the infraction they were involved in. The out of school, obviously,
Right, right.
that's a more
Self-explanatory.
extreme, that's, more extreme. But that's a really good question.
Thank you. And then I have some questions around the structure recess. A few questions on that. So is this the first time we're actually looking into assigning sort of a third-party organization to help us with recess, or has been historically somebody else that has kind of handled that?
So right now, that's been more in school, but from the information I've gathered, and teachers can chime in on this, in the past, they had organizations like Playworks was the one that was a very big proponent in the past. The reason, my understanding was because of budgetary constraints, that was one of the reasons that did not continue.
Okay.
But the beauty about Playworks is they provide professional development for the staff that we have. Obviously, if we were to go for the full implementation, that would not take place until next year.
Right.
Because again, we want to be fiscally responsible. And, but with the full implementation, we have an on-site coordinator that does monthly visits for like one entire week to see if those strategies that they've been trained on are being implemented with fidelity. It does include equipment too. We do get equipment too for recess with Playworks program. But I also want to be mindful too that there are students, and that's something that I gathered from the affinity groups as well, that, we don't want to be forced into, participating in structured play. So there's going to be that respect for autonomy if students don't want to participate in that structured play.
Yeah. And so to understand, right now, what we have is basically recess comes, kids go either out or if it's cold inside and just do whatever you want.
So, I mean, like,
And kind of like,
we, as a
there's
school,
assistants
we
that are watching
tried
that.
to structure,
Okay.
it. But, again, I really think, that it's very important, especially if you are someone that are learning the role in itself, as a coach, to make sure that, like, think of it like a teacher, right? Teachers go to training to implement effective teaching strategies. The same thing with this. That's the way you should look at it. Like, they need to have effective strategies. So, like, for example, conflict resolution. That's something that they need to know. Like, as a research coach, what's going to be my role to intervene if a situation like that were to engage, or if a fight broke out, or if what can I do to better, So I really feel with this, it's like it's also a way to building rapport with students as well, building community with students.
Yeah. I guess the direction I'm thinking, because I know when we did the interview, we had those questions about what play means to you and stuff. I just don't want to see almost like another class where like there's no freedom to the kids and they're like, okay, here goes another task where we have to either, do exercise or.
Right, and that's
so
not the whole purpose.
No, I know.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to get a better understanding of what are we trying to accomplish.
For sure.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
When I was like in kindergarten, when I was little, I remember the recess coaches that we have now, like doing these like games, like really simple games like maths being pulled apart, like you could jump farther each time, like those really simple things. And it would just be like one part of the turf, they conducted that game while other kids who didn't want to do that could do their own thing. And nowadays the recess coaches are more like just like supervisors, and maybe that's just for middle school because we're like old enough to organize our own like games and stuff. But I do feel like we like naturally divide. So like the 7th graders have the entire place to ourselves. So like some kids are on the playground, some kids are like just talk, some kids play football, so we just like kind of do it on our own. But I would say like earlier in the year we had a fight breakout, and I would say that like students have said like that recess coaches reacted very poorly, and like it continued while the recess coaches were like there just like standing there and not doing anything. So I feel like a little more instruction on their part could really be beneficial, and I think this could be beneficial as long as it's not like really forceful, because we can like do our own thing.
And I think that's I don't want it to be forceful. Right. And I think, and I made it very clear, and Playworks are like, no, this is not like you must do this kind of thing. No, this is especially also to build our staff's capacity to, and ensure to avoid those kind of situations, because I'm thinking it from a student safety lens and also building community lens as well. Like, I want our coaches to build those rapport with the students as well.
And are there other organizations that do this, or is Playworks the best?
There are
of the
other
best?
organizations, but based on my research, this is the most like cost effective, obviously,
Okay.
but also the most, popular one
Okay,
across, like, there are caveats to other organizations too and everything, but this one, I think based on the response that I received, oh, we love Playworks.
okay.
That's why I really zeroed in on Playworks. And it's such a huge proponent. Other schools, CPS schools, are implementing Playworks, and it's just been, I've heard of very positive things about it. Any other questions?
Just to confirm, the parent school experience survey, you said we're going to have that sent by the room reps to the parents?
Correct. So yeah, that was Gordon Hammond, one of our JW team members. He made that suggestion, and I like that idea. That way to get the ability to get a greater response rate.
And it's through when? I'm sorry.
It is, let me just double check here. And that might be a typo because it was extended to next week. So my apologies, but yes, that was a typo. It was actually next week.
I have one more question around the professional learning plan.
Mhm.
And I know we talked about like setting up for goals and implementation plans.
Mhm.
So doing more of an extension to that point, have we, or do we have goals as a school, like 1 year, 2 year, 5 year goals? Like what are we trying to achieve, or which, have we looked into maybe setting up some sort of action plan for the future where we want to reach, or like put some targets, either educational, either again, like improving the school or whatever the case might be, like setting some goals and maybe as an LSC start tracking and kind of start working towards achieving some of these goals. Again, not just educational, but like it can be other.
Well, that's what the CIWP is.
Okay.
So because LSC has to approve the CIWP.
Okay.
So the CIWP, so the goal plan that was created a few years ago, that was 2023.
Okay.
So that's basically that action plan where you set goals for a year. So I believe it's 3 priority goals that were sent for the past CIWP, which that cycle's ending now, and that's what we're setting right
Okay,
now.
so that's what we're doing.
That's the CI, because we are gonna, as a CIWP team, we have to present to the LSC for your approval on the goals. And what's suggested, and we're very adamant about this, is really prioritizing on 2 priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Because 3 is a bit of a stretch. So really zeroing in, like if there are 2 priorities as a school, what are those priorities? So we can really dig deep, because those goals will have to be shared with you as an LC, but also the updates will be shared with you. Like at the end of the year, for example, we can give you, and I can even share our progress monitoring in the next LC meeting, because the cycle just closed for that one. That way you can get, gauge where we're at with our current CIWP. So maybe a refresher of the CIWP would be helpful for the LSC. Just to show them this is what was preset, obviously before me 3 years ago, where we're currently at, if we're on track to complete it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But that's right now what we're working on as a CIWP team, to create the plan, that's the action plan for the next 3 years.
Thanks.
Speaking of the CIWP, can you talk a little bit about the community engagement process, or that the CIWP team is looking into, or what we can expect in terms of being able to provide feedback to the team? And then I know for the composition of the team, I know there was a lot of folks who are interested in being on this. So can you talk a little bit about the selection process of how you came with this?
Right. I mean, we had a survey that we sent out for interest. We had 18 people who responded.
Yeah.
So we looked at their background and saw who would be best fit, and obviously we wanted to be open to new voices too as well.
Yeah.
Because we had a couple of members too that had participated in the previous, and again, respect to that, I appreciate that. So we looked at their experience and what they can bring to the table, really, and not necessarily all because they have an educational background or anything like that, or because they work in education or any of that nature, but really zeroing in on teams that could really contribute, the statements that they made, what they expressed, what they can bring to the team. So us as a school team, like we said, we looked through all of those summarizations that they gave of what they can bring, and also based on their availability as well. That was another determining factor too, because we want to make sure that those individuals are able to participate, because I know when scheduling these meetings, I know it might be a little bit conflicting too with the time and aspect too and everything. And as I attested to during my principal's report, we wanted to get as much also school participation too as well, from like the various levels of, areas of concentration, from the SPED lens, from an EL lens, from the IB lens. Wanted to make sure that there was equal representation all across.
And the other part of that question is there'll be opportunities for the wider community to give feedback to the team on the CAWP?
Outside of the school?
No, outside of the team.
Outside,
The
like parents, you mean? Or?
And yeah,
Well, that's why we have the parent-student experience, because that's part of it, what we're collecting right now with the parent-student experience. That's the feedback that we're trying to collect and bring into the CIWP team. The student as well, the student voice experience too, to bring into it. We're trying to gather all that information and data.
Okay, so as a parent, like the two parent reps here, like team members are like going to be collecting feedback from other parents?
No, we send out the survey to the whole school community.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
whole
the
school
survey.
community, and that's why I also mentioned that Mr. Hannon mentioned we should share it with the room reps so we can get a greater participation.
Oh, that survey. Okay,
Yes.
got it. And
Again, we want to
making the
mitigate as
connections
much
now,
data as
thanks.
possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
So, okay, which survey, I guess, is the CAWP?
That would be the parent-student experience. If you look on,
I wasn't connecting that to like.
That's the
CAWP.
second
Page
page,
two.
second
Yes.
page, the bottom.
Okay.
maybe I should have put that on there, but that's what that is. That's part of that.
The parent school experience
Yes.
survey.
'Cause
So
one of
that's
the
what's
things-
helping us set our
Yes,
CAWP goals.
correct.
Okay, got it.
Because we were also trying, other data factors that are considered are 5 essentials, but we did not have a high response rate for 5 essentials last year.
Okay,
So that led us to have to do the student experience survey. We have Cultivate currently, but we still want to mitigate the student voice right now currently to get as much data as possible.
yeah, I think if that hasn't gone out to the room reps yet, I think, yeah, making that clear, like this survey is setting our goals for the school and like the strategic plan for the school for the
Right.
next 3 years, so that
For
folks
sure.
know, like, this is,
And I
you gotta
can
fill
add
out
that.
one survey.
I can add that as a bullet. I can add that in my newsletter,
Yeah.
like, just to clarify, the student voice experience is also gonna help set our priorities and goals for the next CIWP cycle.
Yeah, if this is like the one opportunity that folks have to, give feedback for that to the team, to the CIWP team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we know what the previous goals were and how far we gotten with those?
Yeah, that's domain 1, 2, and 3. So basically, and I think that's what Luis was alluding to. There are some milestones or some numerical milestones that we're tracking. Whether it's beginning of year, middle of year, end of year.
I
think he's gonna
actually
share that. I think.
Shared that in the state of school, the current CIWP goals. Like, if you refer to the state of the school, you can see what our CIWP goals are. But as I mentioned, I would be more than happy to share that in the next LSC meeting, our quarter 2 progress monitoring, where we're at.
So it's a way to quantify progress, but then there's still a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes to just ensure that all
Right.
those goals are reached.
Right, and then like, in terms of the action steps and the action plan, those are active. But again, the measure, the most valuable measure will be right at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
That's if we really hit it, because every year, goals have been already set.
Mhm.
Like, at the end of it, last year, for example, it might have been a certain percentage that we had to be at, and that's gonna measure, okay, are we on track or are we off track?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, or necessitate that we say that we're not gonna be off track, like, we still might make it to our goal by the end of the cycle.
All right.
You've seen them before. Once you see it, you'll be like, oh, some of them we already hit.
I know.
Right, there's some that we had
Some of
to,
them we reached and then we like
That's right.
changed them and
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, and this, like I said, the state of the school I gave, like, this is where we're at right now. That was from the Q1 progress monitoring. But now we just recently closed out the Q2. I can share that in the next LSC. Because they give us a window to sit down as a team and evaluate that. And that, like, they actually ask us to wait until the quarter ends, so all that data can be disaggregated, and reviewed.
should I go further questions? You wanna go into budget and then we'll get LSC?
Oh,
You wanna go through?
I mean, I didn't know there was like a.
Or this is just one quick budget thing and then we can.
Okay, we can do the budget.
More transfers, right?
Yeah, so on the last page of my report. And I just made it a lot easier because reading the numbers are a lot less, so just wanna make it so you can see it here. So budget transfer request number 1, from account 28104, so that's from internal accounts. In the 248,
No, no,
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
What?
It's a long list of numbers. You're not gonna go through all that, are you?
I don't have to.
This is the same account.
It's
No.
No, it's not.
There is, the middle number is different.
That's
In the
right.
middle, the account number is different. Okay, what I can do to make it simple is this.
Yeah,
How
It
about I
has
just
to be
read the description?
The
And it'll make it
account
easier
numbers
so
have
we
to
can
be in the minutes. That's right.
Yeah, and that's why I created the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So that way for the minutes, that way it's taken into account.
yeah. we can
So
grab-
what I can do is I can just read the description, just to make it a little bit easier. So the first one is going from an internal account for an FOP field trip donation into one of our budget classification. And again, this is to create a purchase order for admission to the 8th grade DC field trip in the amount of $13,500.
So the first, I'm gonna have a number here.
Yeah, you can, I think Louis sent that in an email too, so we can
Yeah.
just like copy.
No,
it.
Yes.
in the agenda, I was looking for transfer 1, transfer 2, so I'm just.
Got it.
I'm just gonna call the first one just A. That way I can say,
That's right.
Yeah, alright.
That's right.
yeah, it's just A, B, C, and then
Got it.
I'll do the rest for the minutes. B, C, D. So the first one is the
You need a
the
second?
DC. Yeah, so we've got a motion and then a,
I'll second.
right,
Any discussion? So this is to fund.
The admissions.
There is a specific number of students that are going to be able to go with that amount, or is it, this is just to help with overall?
It's to help overall, especially with the scholarships for those students that are unable to fund, so that helps with the scholarships.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Thank you.
Second one, I mentioned that I wanted to bring the anti-bullying campaign from the Chicago Bears, Bear Down on Bullies, like I was able to secure K through 8. So we do have some funds, but we still need to cover the rest of it in the amount of $600. So it would be to create a purchase order for the Chicago Bear visit, which you will see the invoices. They are scheduled for the first one, March 4th, and the second one, March 5th. I'm sorry, March 4th, there's 2 assemblies that are gonna be taking place. And then March 5th, 9th is the one for the upper grade. That will be, so we needed the amount of $600 transferred to be able to complete the purchase.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of funds from the internal accounts to create a purchase order for Chicago Bears visit as part of the anti-bullying campaign program.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Thank you. Next.
What's the idea of that, how it's gonna work? Are you looking to like, at the auditorium or?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So Mr. Lee's working out the logistics because I know we have like a big population, so. Because originally they didn't want to do 6th or 8th grade. I'm like, nah, that's not gonna work for me. Like, you gotta make it work for me. So we came to an agreement, so that way K-3 is able to participate. So like, it's not really catered for the little ones, like pre-K, like was like the one cutoff, like, you know, because it's like a 45-minute assembly. So we wanna make sure, but, you know, Staley will be there. So hopefully that'll keep the kindergarten kids. Sorry, Babs.
Is there gonna be like somebody dressed in a bear costume?
Yeah, Staley's
Okay.
coming. She's like, that's enough for me. I cannot guarantee Caleb will be here, okay? I can't guarantee a Bears player, okay? That was a stretch to ask, but Staley will be here. And they're also gonna give us a banner too, so we can display outside, you know, our pledge to anti-bullying.
So I know we approved that. I just want to make sure and keep the branch involved because we got a lot of
Right, and that's something.
little.
And that's something we're looking into to see any program that we can get for them as well for the future.
Okay. All right. Next one.
This is for FOP staff, and staff being funded through Friends of Peirce, in the amount of $2,943 to open a bucket to pay crossing guard to support for lunch and recess of the recess coaches. To continue, you know, we need a replenishment of the funds so we can continue funding that.
All right, we'll make a motion to transfer from internal accounts to open a bucket to pay for crossing guard and support lunch and recess.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Last one.
Last one, this comes from building and leases. This is regarding what I was speaking about Playworks. So again, I had tentatively agreed with the Playworks representatives and set a tentative date of February 17th to have them come out to engage our recess coaches in training. It would be a 3-hour training during staff development day, and the focus would be group management.
Okay, so next Tuesday, okay.
Yes.
Got it. Good. All right, like to make a motion to approve transfer from internal accounts for purposes of group management training that's going to be provided by Playworks on February 17th.
I'll second.
All in favor? Very good, thank you.
And then in regards to budgeting, you will see just again, the reports, the internal account reconciliation report, our up-to-date reconciliation report, as well as our recent depositing credits, just to be transparent about that, as well as our general journal.
All right.
Go back to student
If there
reports.
are no further questions, CC, you're up.
Okay, hello everybody. So, first my reports from the student groups. So 5th, 6th GSA. The 5th, 6th GSA is gearing up for the CPS Galaxy Summit, where members will learn and celebrate the diversity of the CPS community with their peers from across Chicago. The 7th, 8th GSA, right now, the 7th, 8th GSA is talking about the Galaxy Summit on March 7th. 7th, 8th BSU. The BSU is currently organizing what BSU members will be working on, different aspects of the Black History Month Showcase. There will be a panel where there will be Black community members that will be asked questions. Other BSU members are working on a game show. The BSU also cut out pictures of important Black figures, BSU members, and their families that will be put on a large poster. Once they are finished, the poster will be put up in the school. They are also working on school-wide announcements about important Black figures in history and current times. They are doing an announcement every day for the entire month of February. The 5th through 8th Student Voice Committee. The Student Voice Committee talked about a lot at their last meeting on February 6, 2026. The new paper sign-out system for bathrooms is working well. We also discussed graffiti in the bathrooms. Last year, the student council put up printouts of positive messages on the bathroom walls, such as "Be the reason someone smiles today," or "Be the change you want to see." This really helped with the graffiti issue and beautified the bathrooms. We noticed that a lot of the graffiti in the bathrooms is actually positive, which shows that middle school students have an urge to spread positivity and compliments around the school. We discussed a possible whiteboard shout-out system with expectations to keep all messages kind. We also talked about ways to have students create positive messaging posters in the bathrooms themselves. Finally, we also discussed the backpack policy and came to a conclusion of ways to compromise and meet in the middle with tote bags, fanny packs, or clear bags. We also talked about how middle schoolers get bags, everyone should, and how the rules should be equitable, even if younger kids don't have lockers or move around as much throughout the day. Student Wellness Committee. The Student Wellness Committee sent out their video about respecting period products to third through 8th grades and their stress check-in form to 5th through 8th grades. They also did a school-wide announcement about the importance of mental health in light of Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in January. We are now working on suicide prevention flyers to put in the middle school hallways and a student handout with their mental health resources at school, like the counselors and social workers. A few student updates. The bathroom policy has been successfully changed to a paper sign-out system and assigned bathroom breaks. This gives kids more autonomy throughout the day and is working really well. The backpack policy changes are still being discussed, but it's likely that students, teachers, and administration will come to a compromise and allow tote bags and fanny packs. The lunch policy will be brought back to normal for 6th through 8th grade students, meaning they will be able to sit with whoever they would like, and younger grades will sit in homerooms. The Student Voice Committee is discussing lunch expectations and rules that will be posted in the cafeteria. Thank you to everyone on the LSC and in the community who helped advocate for student voice to be brought into these policies, and to Mr. Avila and the administration for listening to the students. The 2026 Amigos and Amigas Love and Friendship Valentine's Day Dance was a huge success. Students want to thank all of the parents and teachers that made it happen. Peirce sports update, the 7th, 8th girls basketball team is currently 6-1. The 7th, 8th boys basketball team is currently 7-0. Big shout out to the 7th, 8th grade basketball teams and their coaches, Ms. Topa and Mr. Carbajal, for making it to the district playoffs. Go Panthers, and I am proud to announce that our team won. So we will be playing. Yeah, so we'll most likely both be playing Saturday. The girls are playing at 3. You want to come cheer us on? The 5th, 6th girls basketball team and boys basketball team held tryouts, started practice, and are starting their game on the 14th. So you can also come and watch them. The Peirce cheerleaders are rocking it on the sidelines, and the competition team is currently working on their routine for the competition on February 14th at the UIC Forum. You can come cheer on them too. And coming up in the spring sports season are track and field, co-ed flag football, and girls. Let's go Panthers.
Is the championship or the next round of playoffs, is it also at Sen?
Yes.
I was gonna ask.
Nice. Close enough. There you go. Any questions for Cece? Thank you.
I just want to say congrats, Susie, to you for your for the basketball, yes, but actually when I said that, I was thinking about your advocacy and these policies, you are making positive change at the school. It's amazing to see.
There's also the pilot program that you're being part of as part of
The LSC
Oh, these LSC
ambassadors.
ambassadors.
Yeah. Can you talk? Like a 2-sentence thing,
Oh,
what
yeah.
that's about?
So the LSC Ambassador Program is a program for current LSC student reps to share the message on why it's important to run for LSC, and also why it's important to vote if you're not interested in running or too young to run. So it's basically you make school-wide announcements. So I made my first one in January, and I'm making one in a week or so. And you promote it. Yeah.
Another question, there's a video about period products, you guys?
Yeah.
How do we watch it?
I can make that happen.
All right.
Is
If
it,
you like, I can just share it with them.
Is it
That's
is it on demand or like?
I mean, I'm in it, so.
I think, and thank you for that,
Yeah.
I really am proud of you for that, we also, want to spread that message too, to respect those feminine products, because that was one of the reasons the bridge was created, because in the bathrooms are installed and kids are being mischievous, playing with them. So we don't want that to go to waste, obviously, but also we want them to respect those products. But it was a really nice and fun video.
Very good. Moving on to community group reports. There's a couple of reps here, but really quickly, Friends of Peirce, you may have seen some of the communications, held a fundraising event, in collaboration with Hopley, where all the net proceeds were donated to Peirce. A fairly substantial amount of money was raised. I believe it was $35,000. And all of that is going to FOP for sponsoring Peirce programs. There's a couple of other events that are planned. We talked about those give backs. Those are really important. They seem trivial, but they're very important. So I'd like to encourage everyone to participate to the extent possible. REP had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, last week, and they continue to meet. Didn't get an official report or anything like that from them or PPC, Peirce Pride Caregivers, but I know that they've been meeting. PSO, I want to put you on the spot, but you're here, might as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the Valentine's dance last week, which you all kind of talked about a little bit. Next things coming up are our spring parent-teacher luncheon, which is right before spring break. And then we're starting to discuss and plan for Fiesta, which is coming up in April.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on, so Peirce Families for Diverse Learners, I didn't get a report either, but again, I know that there's been some meetings, and so next meeting, I'll make sure that we get some kind of report, and if we do, we'll put it in the minutes. Next, PPLC.
PPLC met last Thursday, where we currently are, as a school, looking at different math curriculums. So we had somebody come in today, a vendor to share, and then we have 2 more coming in next Tuesday. So prior to that, the last week and a half, teachers were able to come and just peruse them on their own. And then we actually have vendors coming in where questions can be asked about that. And then we also talked about the PPLC's role, which one of their roles is in the CIWP, as in feedback. So we talked about a representative that will be on the CIWP team in conjunction with the PPLC, and is also an MYP representative. So there's voice for middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And that was it. We meet next March, but I don't have the date. Maybe March.
Thank you.
Is that all grades, the math curriculum that they're
We're
looking at?
looking at that, yeah.
Is there a way, the same vendor would be both NYP and PYP, right? It's not, you're not gonna split it.
No, I mean, the one we had today does kindergarten to 8th.
Cool. So they have a meeting tomorrow, and as part of that meeting, as part of their regular activities, it's an opportunity for LSC candidates to make an appearance and introduce themselves to BAC. So that's the main thing. Again, tomorrow is their meeting. Equity Committee.
So I noticed we have two leads here, so can I put y'all on the spot? We've got Jess and Lizzie who are taking the lead on the 2 upcoming equity forums. So do y'all want to give an update?
Yeah, it might not be quick. Mr. Avila did a nice promo for next week's Culture and Community Forum that's focused on restorative practices, and just want to say thank you, Mr. Avila and Mr. Chad, for being so collaborative. Ben McKay, who's a parent but also in the district office of social emotional learning, has also been helpful in kind of just thinking about how parents cannot just understand in their brain, but also experience and understand restorative practices, so that we can think about how we bridge that and live that, with our kids in all spaces. So thank you for that. Really hope that folks come. And both Mr. Avila and Mr. Chad have also offered to continue those opportunities. It sounds like in the past, Peirce has had more opportunities for parents to kind of enter into those restorative spaces in part of the community. And so if folks are interested in that, we can continue that, but excited to get that going.
So I am leading the Palestinian Chicago Forum. It's not until April, so we're just getting started. We've had a couple of meetings and sort of have a foundation for the structure at this point. It'll be a children's focused or family focused event. And the goal is to bring people in, teach them about Palestinian culture, what that looks like specifically in Chicago, how they weave into our community and make it, more beautiful than it already is. Yeah, so more details to come, but I'm waiting on a response from you.
Yes. Getting that information for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to thank Jess and Lizzie for taking the lead on these forums, and Hannah, who was the lead on the first forum that we had about diverse learners. So that's kind of our formula in the equity committee. Folks who are passionate about a certain topic can take the lead on it, and then we all support and divide up into groups to have meetings and plan the forums. So so thank you. Thanks for the update.
Very good, thank you. Next, principal evaluation. We've had a lot going on. I'm kidding.
We need to start that one up for real, don't we?
Eventually, yeah, so,
Yeah,
so there's, by May, so I need to. So
Who was with you on
hear
that?
back. Well, we need to hear back from OLSCR to see what the deadlines are, because there's essentially a survey that goes out, and then it's and then the scores need to be entered by a certain deadline. So with the fact that we have a new principal, I don't know if that affects it, but there are some dates to take into consideration. So,
Yeah, that was,
So we still do an evaluation,
I
like
think that we do.
normal?
yeah, so we need to figure out the dates and then kind of report back out.
The LSC training videos on this one, I'm pretty sure it describes the process, and you've got like a mid-year.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a year since I watched that video.
Right, so mid-year for, assuming the principal was there at the beginning of the process, so we'll figure out how that works out. All right.
And then now your business.
Yeah, so I put CIWP working committee just kind of like as an update. I think you provided some highlights, during your report, but I don't know if there were additional things. I think we talked about the survey going out to the parents. We talked about the composition of the committee. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight or point out? I don't know.
Again, reiterating, we want to be intentional. We want to make sure we get all the data points from all stakeholders within the required time that we have to look at these things. The district has certain deadlines that we have to follow, but also making sure that we leverage that voice at all costs, all across the school community.
All right.
Crosswalk.
Next one, school pedestrian safety. Nicole?
All right, so I'm going to put a different hat on, my day job. I'll introduce myself as my day job, which is I'm chief of staff in the 48th Ward office, and we are doing participatory budgeting. So Alderwoman Lenny Minot Hoffenworth brought this to the 48th Ward for the very first time.
I'm just trying to figure out. I was not set up for success. Oh my goodness.
You don't get to vote.
So what this is, participatory budgeting is, each ward gets $1.5 million of infrastructure funding to spend however the alder chooses. Our alder here in the 48th ward sets it up so that the community gets to vote on how to spend that money. So we hosted a series of workshops in the fall where the community got together and like brainstormed and workshopped different projects. We turned those into feasible projects with budgets associated with them and narrowed it down to, I think, a little over 10, maybe 10 projects that we've got on the ballot. And one of them is right here, adjacent to Peirce. So we tend to bundle like similar projects together into little packages. So we have one that we're calling School Pedestrian Safety, which is a raised crosswalk, 2 raised crosswalks, one here at Glenwood and Bryn Mawr, and then one by Swift Elementary at Thorndale and Winthrop. So what a raised crosswalk is it raises pedestrians to more eye level with drivers. So it makes them more visible to see. You don't have to go down into the street, you're kind of at sidewalk level. It also functions as kind of like a speed bump as well, and like forces cars to slow down. So it's one like pedestrian safety, like infrastructure tool in the toolbox that we have. They're quite expensive, at least in my opinion, as you can see. It's about, $250,000 for these 2 raised sidewalks, or raised crosswalks, I should say. And the voting determines which projects we fund and which projects we move forward to. It's not like an advisory recommendation, like the decision is made by the voting. So if the school community would like this, then I would encourage you to vote for it. There's a QR code here for voting. And then I'm also going to, and I emailed Principal Avila and Ms. Leibowitz some of these materials in case the school wants to distribute them. I know Swift is like going hard on theirs. They're really excited about it. And then I also brought another flyer just for like an info session where I'm going to be talking about all the projects. So if anybody wants to learn about all the projects that are on the ballot, it'll just be a virtual like info session where we talk to each of the projects and show pictures. So they're all pretty fun. It's hard to decide. So I think that's it. Any questions anybody has about participatory budgeting or raised crosswalks or anything like that? I also brought business cards and calendars from the alderwoman that are on the table if anybody would like to take one home. So I've got 750 calendars to offload, so grab a calendar.
So take one.
Yeah.
It's only February. Very good, thank
That's
you.
it.
So next items to be added to the agenda for next meeting. I have the approval of some of the minutes here, following up on the posting of election candidate. I think that's not for the next meeting, that's a follow-up internal. And then more details on principal evaluation. Is there anything else that folks would like us to chat through? I think that's pretty much it for the next meeting. All right. Next one is LSC candidate forum. So a couple of items. We decided on February 24th. I'm sorry, February 26th at 5:30. Right, so it's a 2-hour window, 5:30 to 7:30. And it's going to be in the gymnasium, but we're gonna have this regular setup here for folks who would like to attend remotely. And in terms of opportunities, one of the few questions that we had was who gets to attend? And the simple answer is everyone. Teachers, staff, parents, community, understanding that there are blocks, right? So the parents and the community will be able to vote for parent and community members, and then the teachers and non-teaching staff will have their own vote as part of that group, and then the students as well. The students will have a separate or dedicated forum themselves that the parents and community will not attend, but for all practical purposes, the forum that's open or that's going to be scheduled for the 26th will be open to everyone. So I think one of the questions was, teachers, non-teaching staff, if folks wanted to have their own, I mean, you all can figure that out, but, if folks want to, spend the extra 2 hours on, next Thursday to be part of that, that would be great.
So sorry, just to clarify, you're saying it's open to every candidate?
Correct.
Which
Or
yeah.
candidate, that's right. So all the
Okay.
candidates can attend, and give a statement,
Yeah.
but the meeting is also open to the entire
Public,
community,
yeah. Like
Anybody who can vote, so.
including people who can vote. If people are part of if they want to be part of
Listen, if you're part of the community, then you can vote. in some sense.
what I mean is parents and students will be able to attend, but parents will only vote for
Yes.
parents. They won't vote for students
Yeah,
or.
it's
or
anybody
like that.
who's affected by the election,
That's right.
whichever bucket you fit into, you can come.
That's right. So I created a slightly revised version of the agenda and then I went for it. So maybe we can relink that, but the idea is, I put here a vote on the forum, but this was well discussed and agreed on last time. So I don't know that there's really anything to vote on per se.
The actual plan. So last time we picked the date and we didn't agree on a format.
Okay.
And then we met and drafted out a format. So that's what you have now is the format. So everyone has to approve. Because in our last meeting, we said, should we do it fully virtually? Should we do it in person? And then we went through and read the rules. So now we need to say, yes, we all agree that this format, we've agreed on the date, but if this format will be how we're doing it.
Got it? So, all right. So I'd like to make a motion to include the following for the upcoming candidate forum. So again, the date will be the 26th of February from 5:30 to 7:30. It will be in the gymnasium, and the format will include remote view access, and all candidates are encouraged to participate and attend the meeting.
I'll second.
It's a long motion there. Okay. Any discussion? Anything else? All right. All in favor? Good. Thank you. And again, I'll share. I think I shared the link, but it's like a folder that has like both options.
Yeah, for sure.
Next item here, the security camera funding strategy. I think we talked about that already.
I was so happy when they told me.
Yeah, nice job getting money from CPS.
I know.
Knock on wood.
I know, there's 5 more. The one thing that was interesting is that when I took a look at the invoice for the same type of camera, there were different pricing. Maybe it's because of the way it's.
I think it's
supposed to
also
be
too, like,
placed.
depending on because the other cameras are more on the first floor.
Got it.
So it depends on the location too.
That's fine.
What about the capacity to save, are we set with that, to save the videos or
So the way it works for that, there's a 30-day window that we can save them, but safety and security, oversees that and everything. If we ever need to look at the
safety,
footage.
security,
Like on the
CPS?
school, within the school building, we can have it for 30 days. But if we have to look at the archive, it would have to be a request for safety and security. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, when I look at where they're going to be placed, when I was speaking to Ivan and Adolfo, that it would be great to have something in the staircases as well as the hallways.
And I think that's because the other challenge with camera locations is also the wiring and the locations of it. They have to look at where it is sustainable, the ports, where they're sustainable, because then it would become a project.
Right, they pick locations that would be low cost to install.
For sure.
Got it. All right.
The least barriers to installation.
Sounds good. Next item is a Playworks contract. Again, we spoke about that at length, so.
And obviously, in terms of the full implementation, I think that's a discussion for the future too. Especially because that's gonna be a pretty heavy for that one, so I think that we can move that, for the discussion, but I've already shared, in the folder that I linked in my principal support, all that it comes in, it would encumber.
Yeah. sounds good. And I wanted to make sure and take a look at there's nothing here. Respond to that one. Public participation, I think, Lauren? Oh,
You put my name on.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
Lauren?
So I spoke up at the not last one, but the one before, the last equity committee meeting about, field trips, and I appreciate you, speaking up at the LSC meeting about it and, having funding available for students who need it and, transferring funds to cover students. Doing the math, that $13,000 does only cover about 8 students. Somebody did speak up at that equity committee meeting and said that when she was offered, a scholarship, it was only $800, which is approximately half of the cost of the DC trip. So I just wanted to bring it up again and just mention that, FOP does have money. I highly encourage you all to ask for it if students need it, and also to remember that $800, although it is a lot of money, that other $800 and I think it's $65 or whatever it is a lot of money as well, to fill that gap. And so if FOP is able to cover the vast majority of the cost, I highly encourage you all to go to them and ask for them to do that so that participation is available for all the students. I also mentioned this at the equity committee meeting, but I want to bring it up here is covering the cost of graduations, like fees and stuff, so that all the students are able to attend, like the Odyssey trip, get the graduation package, like the t-shirt and all that stuff, so that students don't feel like left out, so they are not able to participate. It's just something that we are a well-resourced school. There are some kids that are a lot less well-resourced than others. We should lean into that bucket of cash that FOP has and not feel like we shouldn't ask for money. So I encourage that.
I also think, I know a few meetings ago, I mentioned like having a friend that was worried that she couldn't pay for the 7th grade field trip. And I think it should just be a little more like put out there, sort of, like how to apply for financial assistance, cause like that friend, I talked to her recently and I was like, so, did you get the scholarship to go to the field trip? She's like, I don't know, like, it was just like very confusing, and I think that should, cause kids want to go on these field trips and they're like educational, and I think like that should just be like, cause we got like a Google Classroom reminder, and that was like it.
Okay. Because I know one thing that we were discussing internally as staff too, like, making sure on the trip form, like the permission slip, like, if you are in need of financial assistance, that parents are indicating that as well, and then that would like trigger it, the office staff would receive it, administrators receive it to trigger, how we can best support that. But I agree with you, like, that more clear communications on, not just on the staff side of things, but to the whole school community would be helpful.
Can I re-add my name? I had a follow on this comment to that. I had actually, so my daughter's in 6th grade, and I reached out to the teachers at the time offering to like donate some additional funding directly even to that. So I would also suggest making that process easier, because they didn't really have a way to do that until like much later, like closer to when the trip was gonna happen. I think there are a lot of parents who would, give extra to their other students.
Yeah, I think historically we've had, thank you for bringing that up, like we've had this discussion as to how we make that happen without it having to be funneled through CPS, and FOP was usually the best sort of avenue for that purpose, right? So like those cheddar ups and all those things that what's it called? Is that cheddar up? Yeah. So if we can continue to do that, I think it makes a lot of
They did
sense.
eventually give me an option to like add something in Aspen, but.
Yeah. So if you do that through Aspen, it goes through the CPS thing, and then it becomes like really complicated as to, hey, what are you doing with this? And, so we lose a lot of the flexibility and the autonomy that we have through the Friends of structure.
Yeah.
Last month, we
So-
talked about improving that process, making sure that all the staff had the same understanding.
Right.
We did have a discussion last
Mhm.
month, and I don't know how far along the implementation is going, but I think you shared a revision to the forms.
Right, and then
Yeah.
it was communicated to the whole staff about ensuring that we're following those procedures.
But I don't remember discussing the difference between just add it to my Aspen versus routing it through FOP, because I understand there's a very big difference in paperwork as far as what's recorded and when you said flexibility. So I don't know.
Do you wanna talk about the form again? Cause I think, I don't know, I feel like now it sounds like we're not doing that, but we are doing that, right? So,
Yeah, the form that we had discussed, like, you know,
Yeah.
and making it universal to
Yeah.
ensure that, you know, that there is a checkbox that indicates if you require financial assistance, to please indicate it. And then, again, the message to teachers was, please make sure you submit that to the office so that we, as an admin, can approve that support.
but then you added another option on the
Yes,
form.
if you wanted to additionally support, you know, other families, like, you know, I want to contribute.
So that needs to be done specifically for every program that is sponsored. So it's not just a field trip, it could be anything else. So I don't know what the mechanics of
So that's
adding
what
that
we're,
every time.
Yeah.
Can I just chime in real quick? 'Cause
Yeah.
So it is a process, that's the hard part, it isn't streamlined. So if you wanna donate extra money, you have to let that teacher know how much you're willing to donate, so they can let the office know, so they can put that amount in your Aspen account, so you can pay that additional amount.
Got it.
So if the field trip's $15, you don't have the option, oh, I wanna pay 25 or whatever. So that's like the process is, and it's
Yeah.
And
Just
it may be just to make it
communicating that with the
even
homeroom
easier.
teacher so then they can do it.
And maybe this is something we can discuss internally, there are two ways we can do it. Not only with the home teacher, but also reach out to the office staff as well, if they want to donate a certain amount.
And they could, I think, but from a teacher standpoint with the field trip, that also helps us to just see, when we see that check, like, oh, we already know X, Y, and Z are gonna pay that
Okay,
additional
that makes
amount,
sense.
so, I mean, cause ultimately, we're the ones that are
Proceed.
dealing with everything and figuring that stuff out.
If a parent wants to donate extra money, but like, say there's a grade of kids and everyone in that grade can pay for the field trip and is gonna go to the field trip, but
Mhm.
one parent donates like enough money for an extra kid to go, would that money just go to the general like supply of money for field trip scholarships, or would they just not be able to pay that because no one needed it in that field trip?
So usually what it is, because they have to create like a line in e-pay for every field trip event and everything. So if they wanted to, they would have to communicate to the office staff that they want to give that to that specific trip. Because there are different lines in there and everything.
But if nobody needed that money, would they just take the money, like, would the family take the money back, or would it go into, as like a donation?
It would
for
still,
future
it would stay in there. The money would stay in there, like a general field trip line, yes.
This is why,
so would you transfer it then at like an LSC meeting?
exactly,
So it's somewhere
this
else?
is why
Yeah.
FOP is a better route. Because
Right.
then it's there
So that's,
and it's,
Yeah,
it's,
so maybe
yes,
this needs to be
and.
a conversation with FOP. and
yeah, it's
fun.
been a conversation with FOP. So we're trying to figure out Aspen first.
Yeah,
and
because that's.
then figure that out and then go.
Because even with Aspen, there are a lot of
Multiple
loopholes.
schools.
Like you gotta wait for the funds to drop, like 30 days, 30 school days actually, not even days, it's like 30 school days. And that becomes a tricky in itself.
Does FP has on their website like a designated place where you can just donate and
Yes.
write down,
Yes.
like, this is what is it
Yes.
for?
Yes.
It does, okay, so.
Not, no.
What I'm saying is, if you wanna donate to FOP, you can specify what that donation is for.
Not as of now.
I just did it.
So there's a drop down.
I'm not talking about drop down, there's people at FOP that you can reach out to
Oh, yeah,
and do,
yeah.
and that.
It's
So
not a
you're
button
asking
on
like
the
a website, there isn't, but you can reach out to FOP and then.
So maybe, I don't know, creating some sort of either, like a Zelle code or whatever it might be,
Yeah, they can
Like-
add it on there.
Right.
where, and then share it to parents where you know, a lot of parents quickly just go to their bank and transfer funds quickly.
Jess?
I just wanted to raise, it's like the conversation tonight just kind of raised that the full LSC probably doesn't fully understand the CIWP process, and so the full parent community probably doesn't. And I think, if there's one opportunity for parents to contribute, I would encourage the administration to think about like a dedicated email with simple and clear messaging, maybe also backpack mail, letting folks know like, this is to understand X, its purpose is Y, and here's why it matters. Because I think like, I saw that survey, I wasn't sure what it was for, and then I got busy and I didn't do it. And I imagine there are a lot of folks that are the same. I don't know if it's translated also, but to consider that. Not least because of the request that you mentioned earlier about stronger communication, that parents requested in the listening tour. I would also, I know that time is super tight, but for the degree that feels feasible, would encourage folks to consider active outreach to folks who have named or demonstrated or whose data shows that there are challenges or concerns, different student groups and things like that, to make sure that there is equitable representation of student and parent voice for folks that maybe need the most inclusion in this moment, and like thinking about the CPS equity framework and things like that in terms of bringing people into spaces and not just expecting people to come, but going to people, so that folks don't miss it and so that they're included. And I think on that note, I super appreciate Mr. Avila, like all the data that it looks like you shared, but thinking about disaggregated data and what different student groups are experiencing and how the school community can understand that, how parents can understand that, and how parents can bring that home and talk to their kids about it, and how kids can be showing up for other kids, but also just like how as a community, we're really thinking about like the success of all students and not just students in aggregate. And so I hope that's part of like the future CIWP process, but even as in the remainder of the few months that are remaining now, I think that's just like a help as you're thinking about bringing the current CIWP for folks to understand. And you did some of this in the State of the School, Mr. Avila, but like I think helping people understand how different students are experiencing things and what different students might need. And I'm sure that's a conversation that's happening across the school. And so it would be wonderful to hear about how folks here are thinking about that, and what it means for our community. So just wanted to express gratitude for the opportunity to be part of it, and also kind of request a little bit more understanding on the parent side of things of what y'all are seeing and what y'all are doing to truly support every kid in learning, thriving, belonging.
I want to add on to that. I want to say that I feel like the parents who don't know about the CIWP, I think there's a lot, like actually like 99% of the student population that also like none of my friends know what an LSC is. So like they're not going to know what the CIWP is.
Right.
So I think like with the form that we're creating in Student Voice, I think like explaining that and like how important it is. And I know we were talking about this, but like they're fifth and under this CIWP cycle will like, they will be at Peirce for that entire cycle. And like, it will affect their like day-to-day experience at Peirce. And so I think like explaining how important this moment is and like involving the students more would be very beneficial.
Very good. Thank you. Announcements, comments. I'd like to remind everyone that Saturday, February 21st, as part of the Argyle Lunar Year Parade, Peirce will have a float, and we're inviting all parents and the entire community to come and walk along the Peirce float. There will be all other schools as well that will have representation, but Peirce is always the best one. So
My apologies, I could not be there.
that's okay. That's all right. We'll take a donation from you through FOP. But yes.
Oh, yeah.
I have one more comment.
I thought it was a protest.
How was that protest?
Yeah, yeah.
Not setting up for success.
I know there was something mentioned about like doing some sort of a education around Palestine again.
So that's,
Equity group.
it's
It's the
something like
equity
a,
group.
it's a forum, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to encourage to be really, again, careful, sensitive, because we obviously went last year to,
That's actually.
maybe, yeah, because it's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, they built, so I'm in the 13.
Excuse-
that's smaller.
Lizzie, I think he's making a very important point there. I just wanna make sure we.
yeah, I know you guys mentioned about like hosting some sort of like a Palestine, I guess, educational or something like along those lines. I just want to kind of encourage you guys to be very sensitive and careful, and I know you will be, but obviously we went through a lot last year, and so, I just don't want to see that same thing happening again this year.
Absolutely.
So,
Very good. All right, checking on norms. Thank you everyone for your participation. This was great. Any other comments? All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.